Hi everyone. So I am here tonight with the amazing Becky Holmes, who I have known for probably I think it's about 7 or 8 months now, and it's pretty much her fault that I am here on this video and doing videos because I never thought I'd be out interviewing people, and she nudged me when I joined her group and when she started teaching me how to do videos. So yeah, that's part of what she does, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But to start with, she's here to tell us about how she's generally been, well, she's been out there and she does kind of super confident things and she kind of presents to people and she loves that. But sometimes she's been kind of labeled as too much. And we're here to talk about the impact of that and how that's come through in her life. So welcome, Becky. It's good to have you on.
Hi, Emma. Hi. I can't believe it's only been 7 or 8 months. It seems like a lifetime.
It's lockdown intensifies it though, doesn't it? It's kind of like we've got to know everyone so much more online off the back of it. But so the first thing I wanted to do is get you to talk about what you used to do in your old role. So you were a science communicator, is the kind of the way you phrased it. So the first thing I wanted to get you to talk about is what is a science communicator, and what is it? How did you get into it? How did you get into that part of it?
Yeah, okay. So essentially, as a science communicator, we called ourselves like a bridge between the researchers or the scientists and the public. So be that schools, festivals, events, and we'd go abroad as well. So it's just this whole field of people that sit between the general public and the scientists or engineers, tech world. So we call it STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths. We sit between them and the public. So I did a physics degree to start with, but I wasn't really into it. I loved speaking. I love English. I fell into science because I couldn't get the grades to go to Cardiff University to study journalism. And then on the last year, I saw my boss, Wendy Sadler of Science Made Simple, and she was doing a talk. And we were on a retreat for the third year students. So we were all away. And I was like, what is this? So she was technically doing a stage show. She was playing music on wine glasses. She was playing a lead pipe with a Bunsen burner. And I was like, I need to do this. So when you frantically researched, and there was a course in Australia and there was a course in Cardiff in Techniquest, the Science Centre, and one in Bristol. And so, yeah, just then, from then on in, I was like, I want to do this. I then got a job immediately with that lady. And then we built a company. It's her company, but I was like second in charge for 16 years. Yeah.
Wow.
So we got to 16 staff. You can imagine COVID's had an impression, but yeah, 16 staff we were at, and it was phenomenal. Yeah.
So basically, you came out of uni and just hooked into this thing that you went, yeah, this fits. This is what I want to do. I can do the science, but I can also be out there and engaging with people and stuff as well.
So when you say, like, what does it look like? We would write science shows. I would perform massive venues, 300 people, or it could be in a pub with 20 drunk people. Or my absolute favorite is festivals, and you're just on a stage and then everybody's picnicking, or they could be drinking, they could be sitting with their children. I love it. Like, gives me goosebumps thinking about it. So yeah, just talking and playing with people, but in that, like, I'm on the stage, you're the audience, let's go kind of thing.
And so you should be picking me up on this. The thing I haven't said is that we are here live, and if anyone wants to ask questions as we go along, I feel like I've had my first slap by myself there. But if anyone wants to comment or ask questions as we go along, please do add them. If you want us to know who you are, then please allow StreamYard to see you if you're on the live version. And if you're on the replay, then please do add questions and we'll come back to them later. And we'll probably pick them up in groups because they take a little bit of time to come through. But I'm just checking because, Tony says she loves your earrings. There you go.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Is this yeah, thank you.
That's amazing. Okay. So have you always been like super confident and able to speak in front of large groups? Because that's one of the things that, as you're talking about it, being up there in front of everyone and like this festival spirit and just being in charge, it's just like, oh, scary to some people.
So in a word, yes. So I grew up in a very large family. I've got 4 brothers and sisters. I'm the oldest. I'm the leader. and I was always brought up by my family. I didn't need anybody else growing up because I had my family, and we were all encouraged that we were kind of like we could do anything we wanted. And even though we were like quite poor essentially, my dad was in the Navy, we moved around a lot, so we kept to ourselves and were. But I was told constantly, you can do whatever you like. You're essentially, and yeah, I never had any confidence worries. Obviously, I do have confidence issues in other areas, but speaking is not one. No, so yeah, I've always loved it.
And you've said to me, like, you much prefer being up there on stage in front of lots of people than almost like the one-to-one stuff. You prefer
Yeah,
to sort of performing, and that just
yeah,
plays really naturally to what you do.
yeah.
Okay, and so the thing that I mean, that leads on from that is, so as a result of being like that, what criticism have you faced? So, and has that kind of come through and held you back in any way?
Yeah, so so just to like set the scene, I've got some props for you, Emma, because that's what I'm taught to do. Is like, so like this is what kind of wine glass I would drink out of. This is my makeup bag. This is my mask.
Yep.
A couple of shoes. So if you can imagine, I have been in the physics department of a university for 16 years, dressing like that, acting like that. And not so much in the early days. I think I'd like be a little bit different to everybody else, but now I'm like fully embrace it. So yeah, so I've always been different. Um, I now train people to present to camera like we are doing now. And when I went to my first camera training, I was told I was too much, I was too loud. In a boardroom, I've been told I'm too much. I am how would you like scary? Scary is a word, but I'm not scary. Like you know me, Emma. I'm like I think I'm one of the nicest people. I care so much about people, but I am loud and I am opinionated, and I come across as scary because I have this persona, just like I'm here. Like so so not so much criticism, well, not so much to my face, but but people like are scared, and I'm a bit forthright, and I'm yeah, so I am a lot. I am a lot.
And when someone says that to you, what does it what's
So
in
when the person who said it about the camera presenting, so I'd already moved. We were already making videos in the science show company, because you can imagine video took off, and I was like, oh, I'm techie. I can speak. Let's use this. But I went to a BBC expert training, and the coach said, "Oh, you're a bit much, love." And I was like, and I didn't do any camera work for 3 years because I felt like when I would do it, her voice would come into my head that I was too loud. Because my voice is loud. I can speak to 300 without a microphone. So yeah, so it really held me back.
yeah.
And I hate to be like, so when I was younger, I wasn't judged. That's kind of how my family was. We were taught to be eclectic because nobody mattered but our family. But as you grow up, you feel the judgment, and you feel the eyes on you. So I think as I got older and older, it like chips away at you, doesn't it? And I'm like, am I scary? And I double check what I was saying. I'd like hold myself back in meetings and stuff. Like, am I too much? Like, am I too forthright? I'm incredibly emotional as well. So like my emotions might be anger or sadness, but they're a lot. So yeah. So just like whispers and judgments and things like that.
And basically other people are scared of you it's coming from their world. I guess that's the thing. It's and just thinking, I'm putting this into the idea of that I talk about quite a bit, of kind of everyone's got their own world, and in your world you've been taught in your family this is cool to put yourself out there, this is what you do. But actually when you meet someone who hasn't been taught that, they're like, oh my god. And especially when you're talking about kind of the tech world where it's very careful and considered and all of that side of things, that suddenly it's like, who is this person? Oh my god, what do I do with her? And she's female as well.
Yeah, I'm female. Yeah.
Yeah, so have you kind of come across any tricks that you've used to kind of deal with that, or other than holding yourself back, because holding yourself back isn't the best.
Yes, obviously that wasn't the best strategy
Yeah,
for a while. Have I thought of any strategies? So I'm very careful to, like, because I can argue my way out of a paper bag, so I have to kind of use my power for good.
yeah,
So I do go into things very considered. What is it that I want out of this, and what is my aim? So that to keep myself on track, because I don't want to get embroiled in an argument or anything like that, or get over emotional and not be focused on what it is I'm going in there for. So not like in a negotiating way, but like if we've got an aim on a project, I need to remember that aim, because I can get carried and drawn and
yeah,
stuff. And I was just trying to think. So in my new identity is probably where I felt the least confidence, because suddenly I have gone from being in a company where I'm kind of the matriarch, the leader, um, amongst other leaders there, but to this outside world where you've got to be like, I know stuff about this, and change my identity. So I'm no longer the poster girl for science, engineering, technology, which is an easy thing to poster girl for because it's amazing, to I'm the poster girl for myself, and
yeah,
I'm an expert, and oh, even saying it now, it's like, right, so again, I have to come back to, what is it do I want to achieve in the world? Well, I want people who can't be as confident as me to be that. I need to lead the way. So for me, it's always about going back to and you know that it's my course, isn't it? Go back to the aim, and what you want is my main technique for anything. And speaking on a stage, is even that, it's like, what am I trying to achieve here? And it's always was to inspire one person in the room to have a positive experience with science and technology. Because you can imagine, I can talk to 300 year 9 boys.
yeah.
I know in my head, it's not all of them that are coming with me to be engineers. Just one will be and I'll have made my
So
week. Yeah.
what I'm hearing is it's the grounding yourself and kind of getting into your stable, right, I'm okay here. What is it that I want to achieve? And then taking that into whatever you're doing. And that then the authenticity comes through. That's
Yeah.
essentially what you're saying. It's like sticking with what's true for you. And then that works a lot better. So I just need to share Tony's comment. It's difficult to think balance your passion when people are not used to seeing geniuses. There you go. So you're a genius.
Or genuineness.
Oh, genuineness. Oh, I read geniuses, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's genuineness. Yeah.
It's
No, it's
genuine.
not. It's not.
Yeah. So yeah, it is. Yeah, and looking at it from that side, both I agree with both. When they're not used to seeing geniuses either, but when they're not used to seeing genuineness, yeah, I agree with that.
And we had a company that, although it sat in the physics department of a university, we were our own company. It was like
Yeah,
they gave us space, office space, but everybody else is growing up inside academicness. So I'm sat over here going, "What are you doing?" And they're sat over here going, "What are you doing?" But it's been a bizarre journey, for me to look at them and be like, "No," and they're looking at me doing whatever I like.
yeah. And I know some of that, we haven't really shared that, but that, because my background's university and trying to do outreach as well. And it's, yeah, that difficulty of everyone going, but you're not a standard academic. How do I fit you into my model of the world? This is just, so I'm going to switch levels here a little bit. So we've been talking a little bit this week in the group about hormones. And I know that you've shared with me that your hormones do kind of play into how you show up. So I just wondered if you could talk a bit about that.
Yes. So, see, this is difficult now because it's out of my realms of comfort. So, I have suffered, I think, since I started to menstruate, from PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So, every month, not so much when I was young. When I was young, I'd be angry. Like, my husband would walk in the room and I'd be like, "Fucking get out." Like, and I'd seethe, and it'd be like, "You didn't do anything, Beck, really." Then I had a child, and I had postnatal depression, which is just my thing in a different guise, because obviously the hormones were changing in my body. And then as I'm older, it more looks like extreme moods over ovulation. So day 14 to 17 of the month was always an issue. And if you wronged me in that time, but just extreme reactions. And then in the 4 days in the build up, so day like 17 to 21, rock bottom depression, can't get out of bed, don't want to be alive, could divorce my husband please. And I lose, the worst symptom for me, as you can imagine, was I didn't want to verbalize my thoughts. So my brain would think, I'd be like, oh, I wonder what Emma's doing tonight, and my mouth would be like, nah. And
Yeah.
when you're me as well, the dissonance between the hormonal me and the other me, which is the dysphoric, in that, so it's essentially really strong PMS or PMT, but like life affecting.
Taking it to the extreme of kind of really needing to just completely hide away and not be in the world at all.
Yes.
And so how did that feed into your work? How do you cope with that?
So by this time, so my son is 11, so I would have been presenting, wow, we're talking like 11, 12, 13, 14 was when it started to get really bad. But I had been presenting the same science shows for 14 years. So I think I was at a point where if I could get myself to work or out of the house or like moving, I could get through it, and I could stand up on the stage and almost on autopilot, like once I've started, and then I would kind of like get off the stage, and then tidying up would be like, and I make a lot of mess. Like imagine bubble shows, frozen bananas, all this stuff. Tidying up would be awful. Driving home would be awful. I'd be like, what am I doing with my life? I hate this. When it's like, you didn't hate it, Becky. You just had a lovely time. But yeah, so I don't think I've had 2 periods off work, not periods. I've had 2 time spans off work where dramatic situations in the workplace fed the PMDD, and I was like, I've got to take a break from this. But actual science shows, I don't think I've ever not shown up in that way.
Okay, so because you're so ingrained in it, you kind of just, it's just, I know how to do this, let's just get through and know that I just need to follow what I can do.
It's like comfort blanket stuff almost. So when I had my first child and I had really bad postnatal depression, I actually cut my maternity leave short to go back to work, because I was like, that's where I feel safe. I know what I'm doing. I know how to sell science shows. I know how to manage staff. I know how to do these shows. I don't know how to be at home with my baby that I probably didn't bond with as well as because I was terrified of him. So I know it sounds terrible, but I went back to work early, and then I mended, and then obviously I had the monthly issue, but the postnatal depression did ease because I knew what lit me up, and that is speaking and working with people. So,
and did your colleagues know anything about this? Did they know what's going on? How much did you share with them?
So they knew about the postnatal depression because there was no hiding it, essentially. Well, when you're a gregarious character and you've got depression, there's an obvious dissonance. So they knew about that. Then as I went through, my son was older and older and older, obviously they knew as much as I knew. So I didn't always know. And the thing about the dysphoric in it means that you don't always know when you fall into it. You're just like, what is going on? Like, I hate the world. You don't realize at all. I think you said that in your live. But literally every month I would be like, what's going on? So they did know in the end as much as I could explain to them, which was where I was associate director. I was able to control the culture, and we all talked about our feelings, our moods. There's lots of females in the company. So I was very I believe it's my job as a communicator to be open about my illness for the next generation coming through as well. And people suffering who don't know because people don't speak about it. I meet a lot of people. I've started doing PMDD awareness, and so many people will be like, I saw your talk and then I realized, and you're like, gosh. So
yeah. And I guess, so I'm just pulling, so Tony's comment from off the back of you explaining all about what it's about is kind of, maybe, I know, we all have challenges around dealing with hormones, and they all impact us, but this is a real extreme, and there are different extremes, aren't there? But it's like hormones just really amplify whatever's going on. So this is tough, but you're managing to develop your own awareness, and in parallel you're also developing the awareness of your staff and the people that you work with, because you're keeping them informed. And I think that is so powerful, isn't it? Helping them to understand what it is that this is a real thing, this is something that everyone suffers with, and allowing them to step forward and talk about it too. How do you think that might have changed if your colleagues and the people that worked for you had been mostly male?
Ooh. So firstly, that makes me think of the colleagues that were male and who were
Mhm.
so helpful to me. But I do think science communication as a field tends to attract women and men who are more in touch with their feelings, because it's like if you
Mhm.
don't work in science, you go to psychom. So
Yeah.
the staff were lovely. Um, but if I was to put myself, if I was in the university culture that obviously I was alongside but not in, I just think bloody hell, like just I don't know. I just think I was given a lot of leeway or like space. So yeah, and I've fallen out with people on the floor who were from the department, and it would just be horrible. So yeah.
And I
I,
think this is the part of our challenge, isn't it? Is how do we make and change cultures elsewhere so that we can show up more
yeah.
like when we're in a female environment? It's just, yeah.
I can share one story because obviously it's just difficult because I don't know that many men apart from the ones I work. But my dad the other day, so I am now scheduled for a hysterectomy because obviously I need my ovaries to be gone to be functional. Well, I'm functional with medicine currently.
Mhm.
And I was just like, Mum, Dad's not been very chatty about the whole operation. And he said something like, oh, Beck, he texts me on the side and he's like, Beck, like, I can't be doing with these conversations about your lady bits, but I'm all for it and I think you should do it. But I don't like, because obviously I just speak to my parents and they're both there, but I'm like, Dad's not saying a lot. And he texts me and says, you've got my full support. I think you should do it as soon as possible. Sorry, I haven't been in the conversations, but I didn't feel it was my place.
Yeah.
When it's like, well, Dad, it's as much your place as like anybody's. That's even in our family where we do all talk about whatever we want.
So it's that kind of knowing what to say as well, and seeing it like
Yeah,
that is it gives a different perspective. It's like, okay, I don't know if I'm not going through the experience. I don't know what you're experiencing, so I don't have the place to say anything or to do anything about it. And just something that's come to me, and we haven't talked about this in advance at all. But how much do you share with your son?
ooh, oh, you make me feel emotional, Emma.
Sorry, don't have to.
My my son and my daughter, don't cry, are amazing. So if
Yeah,
you can imagine, you've got a mother who is crazy. She's life and the soul of the party, but you know, for 4 days she can't function.
yeah,
They can get their own dinner. They can get themselves ready for school, gymnastics, whatever. I'm a science communicator, so we talk about periods, tampons, etc. Anyway, because I'm just like I'm an open book. 'Cause I'm not squeamish about it. So I think he knows.
yeah.
And then obviously the reason it's emotional is because it's genetic. So my daughter will need to know. She needs to know self-care. She needs to know how to stand up for herself. She needs to know how to manage her emotions because it could be coming.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And I think that's the other thing that comes through, is that if we want to change the way men react to these things, then sharing it with our sons and kind of getting them comfortable talking about it. And that's like, I wasn't really even comfortable talking about it with my mum, so you've got to get comfortable talking about it with your daughter and your son, and that's how we can change the way things are, isn't it? And how people get more comfortable with it.
I want to share a funny story now just to change the mood up
Yeah.
slightly. But he learnt about puberty, and then she has nosebleeds all the time, like they just strip. And he was like, Mum, I've been thinking, so Lexi's bleeding a lot. Maybe this is the start of puberty. And then, and then the psychom in me is like, Becky, you should be ashamed of yourself. Your son is not aware of this key bit of science. But yes, but they're funny because they're that age. They're 9 and 11, so they're learning about it at school, and it's all
Yeah.
it's all kicking off essentially.
So okay, so going back to what we started with, which is like if people are struggling with judgment of being too much, and I guess people are struggling with judgment because that's what we're talking about here. People saying you're too much, but also I know you work with people who feel I'm not enough. So what advice would you give for anyone struggling with judgment?
Um, the whole thing about tapping into your aim. So so I work with women like yourself who've got an amazing thing to share, but the people's judgment of them keeps them not playing, and they're not even entering the playing field. They're just like, I've got this thing, but I don't want anybody to see the thing because they might think about the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so really focusing on, so you can focus in on your aim and getting tech women career coaching, and that one person who might take, like I had a lovely session with you the other day, and took that into the next day. So it's really important work to just focusing on that, the work they're doing, and also kind of like what other people think is often about them. So the reason people think I'm too much or I wouldn't do that, like be it getting up on a stage or on video, is because they don't want to do that. So they
Mhm.
need to knock my position in the world to clarify why they're right. So it's not about them saying you're too much, Becky. They're like, no, why, I'm safe here. I've made a decision. I don't need to do that because she, look at her, what's she doing?
Yeah.
Because they want to, like the way I dress, people judge it because they want the way they're dressing to be right, when I'm like, there is room for all of us in this world, and I don't need to look like you and you don't need to look like me, and that's okay. But they
Yeah.
will often judge because they feel like you being one way is attacking the way they are, when it's not. Like, I don't have judgment for people, but I'm not saying you dress boring because I'm dressed differently. I'm not saying you should wear makeup because I'm wearing, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's always about them. Any judgment you get, any internet trolls, if your boss is not quite right, like it's usually more about them than what you're doing or what you're bringing.
And also about the place that they're in at that moment as well. If they're in a lower place, then they're more likely to be judgmental because they're feeling more insecure as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've talked about this a little bit. So because I know this links on. So how tell us about your new venture. Tell us about the next thing and how does it build off these experiences?
So yeah, so obviously I said when I did my BBC expert training I was too loud. But that was years and years ago now. So, and I'm passionate about building businesses and using video to amplify your message. So what I do now is I work with mainly women in business, or could be women in organizations, or anybody in an organization, but to get them confident on camera and then get them using, like you're doing with your regular interviews, your regular masterclasses, teaching some of the strategy to get your message out there in a way that's sustainable. Because what I've obviously learned is that energy is not there forever. You can't be all the places. Like I could still tour and do science shows 3 times a day, reach 1,000 children a day, but it takes all my energy. So it's about harnessing the gifts of video to amplify your message, spread your energy, and still have that impact. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing now. And I just went fully self-employed at the end of August. So it's been 4 months.
Thing. And the thing I was going to say, and when you talk about that, it is really is like when you, because I came to work with you thinking, right, I just want to show up a bit more on video, and all these other things came off the back of it. It's like, oh, I could use video there, and I could do this, and I can repackage it, and I can do this. And I know there's someone else on the program, Helen, who's also in the group, who she came in. I don't know why she signed up. She signed up not really wanting to do video, and now she's delivered a training program and she's kind of doing video interviews and all sorts of things. And I don't even know why she signed. She didn't even know why she'd signed up to your program in the first place. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, no, she's doing it. I think almost in the like, so it wasn't quite the same before COVID because doing video was a choice.
Yeah,
But now it's pretty much a key life skill. So I just think it's well, that has made it perfect timing for me as well to have a skill that people are in dire need of. And I'm like, I'm here, I'll help you. So yeah.
yeah. And so how can people connect with you? I guess that's the final question. So if they're interested in doing more video, how can they find out more and how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so befriend me on Facebook as Becky Holmes. Anybody from this group, the Authentic Tech Leaders, just tag me. I'm around because Emma has got one of my favorites. I think because it crosses both my worlds, like leadership, tech, geekery. So yeah, tag me. And LinkedIn is Becky Holmes. I think it's using video to get your business visible. So I'm ready to change from the visible to grow your business, but yeah, I haven't changed a lot of it over yet. So that's where you can find me.
And you're doing a group next week in January as well. You're doing. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, so the next round of my program, where I basically take people through my structure, so they learn presenting, content ideas, the tech you need, like so we're using a certain tech now, and then some of the strategy pieces. Yeah, my next intake is January. Yeah, if anybody is interested, and they'll run a couple of times a year, so you can jump on that, or I can come and bring that to your organization as well. Well, I say that when lockdown lifts, that will be a part of my work as well, but
Yeah.
at the moment it would be online.
So I haven't actually put the thing out there saying, does anyone have any questions? So if anyone has any questions, we'll keep talking for a little while. I know Tony's been kind of actively commenting, and there's a couple of other people. Thank you for the feedback on the echo. But it is there, but hopefully it hasn't been too bad. And I'm still hearing it again now. But yeah, so if you've got any questions, post them below. But thank you so much, Becky, for coming in. It's been great having you here, and I've been trying to get you in for a little while, and it was just
I know, yeah. I was thinking that. I was like, we're finally doing it, Emma. We're finally doing it.
this is why, well, it was getting the topic and it was getting it to fit, and knowing you had so much going on as well with all your changing work and everything like that.
And
So
I'm only just, I thank you as well, because I'm only just ready to talk about hormones. And it's because, so this year I had treatment, and I am 10 months, however long, it was the first day of lockdown. But it wasn't my story to tell before, because I was so in it, and it was so painful, and
yeah.
so I couldn't work full time. I worked, that's probably an important thing to say. I worked 2 days a week because I couldn't cope. But now it's my story to tell,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm on the other side of it, and you're just the perfect timing, because it's like, right, I'm ready to come out of the closet. But that's another thing about video, is I can amplify this message as well without taking time out of my work, because it can just roll,
Yeah,
and I can focus where I
yeah,
need to
yeah.
focus.
And that's the other, yeah, the huge benefits of video is that you can do a lot of stuff in advance when you're feeling great, and then if you need to take the time out, you can kind of flex things around and still be there for people, can't you?
Yeah, I think it will be, not ready yet, but I think it will be part of my story,
Yeah,
how to like deal with chronic health or things like that with video, like a separate thing. But yeah, it's definitely going to be part of my story. But at the moment, I do show up live as much as I possibly can. But before it wasn't possible.
yeah,
I had to take
yeah,
some of our calls off in the early days, didn't I? So, and I'd just be like, guys, I can't do it
yeah.
today.
And that's the thing that people generally understand as well, when they kind of, when you turn up, sometimes that's the scariest thing, isn't it? I've got a question from Tony here. So if I wanted to create a similar role to your old job, but for English language stuff, where would I start?
So, like an English language communicator.
I know, so Tony's a teacher, working with English language, but really keen on tech. So kind of, I know she wants to kind of introduce more tech into the work, into the school, but also it sounds like kind of outreachy type stuff as well, maybe.
Yeah. So, um, check out British Interactive Group. They're a really good find. British Interactive Group, that's big. And there are lots of people who do what I do. That's the SciComm community. But essentially, we had a product, we'd contact the schools, and the schools would buy us in. And then later we got tons of funding to do it. But yeah, just having a product that schools want, maybe doing some research about what it is schools are looking for. They will probably need it online at the moment. So the SciComm world is not booming, because anybody who couldn't go online was in trouble quick. But if you can do any kind of online workshop, package it up. I've got a brilliant video, obviously, that I'll put in the comments, that shows you how to like create a Zoom workshop, how to sell it with a PayPal link. yeah, just get an idea together, pitch it at a school, and go for it. Yeah,
And given that
I'm
you,
not sure. Don't quite know the detail, but yeah, it would
yeah,
be.
well, and
And there
given
are
that,
networks.
Tony, what does your school need?
Yeah, yeah. What do they need?
Yeah.
And then there's lots of funding opportunities available right now as well. So we always got 50% of money from commercially from the schools and 50% from government. I'm in Wales, but government funding as well. So yes.
We got a thank you there.
Oh, good. I just like just dive in. It could be
And I'm
completely
sure
off
Tony
topic.
will dig in and ask more later anyways. Okay. So yeah, let's no more questions. So let's say goodnight. We're just a little bit over, but thank you so much for coming in, Becky. It's been fantastic having you in here, and we've covered so many different things as well. So yeah, it's great to have a good conversation with you.